The program that you're about to hear contains material that may be offensive to some listeners. Listener discretion is advised.
Go ahead. Make my day.
2, 1, 0.
Hello and welcome to Write and Writer, the official podcast of the Washington Free Beacon, sponsored by Calm. I'm your host, Elizabeth Harrington. You can follow me on Twitter at LizWFB. The Free Beacon podcast is available on iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher. Please subscribe, tell your friends, and leave a review. Joining me from the right today is Free Beacon Editor-in-Chief Matthew Continetti. You may remember him from such mainstream media programs as NPR's Morning Edition and C-SPAN's Q&A. You can follow him on Twitter at Continetti. Hello, Matt.
Hello, Liz.
And further to Matt's right is Free Beacon President Aaron Harrison, who is available for freelance security at CPAC. We're not exactly sure what he does around the office, but he signs the checks, and that's good enough for us. Hello, Harrison.
Heavily armed security.
And returning to the program today is the chairman of the Free Beacon, Michael Goldfarb, international man of mystery and licensed Republican consultant. He always keeps our panelists in line. Hello, Goldfarb.
Hello, Les.
Up first on Write and Writer, President Trump walked away from a bad deal during his second summit with Kim Jong-un. Trump said Kim wanted all sanctions lifted, which was a deal breaker for the United States. Trump tweeted this morning, "Great to be back from Vietnam, an amazing place. We had very substantive negotiations with Kim Jong-un. We know what they want, and they know what we must have. Relationship very good. Let's see what happens." Matt, sometimes it's good to walk away.
Yes, especially when the North Koreans are demanding the lapse of sanctions, whether it was some sanctions, whether it was all of them, doesn't really matter. If you relent, they're going to go back to doing no good. And so Trump was right to walk away. They haven't announced a third summit. There might not be a third summit. So we achieved the least worst outcome, and I'm satisfied. What I am dissatisfied with, though, are the people in the media, not the actual national security.
They suck.
They do. The national security experts, even Susan Rice, was like, okay, good, he walked away. That's good, right? But then you have these journalists saying, oh, what a failure. But it's not a failure.
No, it's not.
If you avoid a bad outcome.
Right. That's what Obama should have done, is walk away from a bad deal with Iran.
Well,
but he was so committed to a bad deal.
Well, these idiots just read the Washington Post op-ed or the New York Times op-ed, and then they just repeat whatever that is, because these are not people that study this issue. These are not people that are immersed in the North Korea problem for the past 75 years. This was what it was. Nothing hurt. You know, we're making, this is kind of an intelligence coup for the United States, in that we get this hermit king to waddle his fat with his walking security guards around his car out into the public again. We get to talk to him. We get to psychologically study him even further with real hard evidence as opposed to suppositions and hearsay. So it's good on that aspect. It's like 2 days out of our president's time. Who cares? It was great. And the other thing is, Trump's not getting rolled in these negotiations. All the belly aching that's been going on in the press.
Yeah.
Look, there was a bad deal. The North Koreans, after promoting themselves to say, oh, we're serious about this, were fundamentally unserious, which everybody anticipated from the beginning, but now it's reiterated to the public. Trump is no dummy on this stuff. He's not getting rolled here. North Korea is not getting anything that they wanted either, but there's dialogue, not a bad thing in the sense that there is dialogue. However, if there is going to be a third summit, and I really doubt that there is going to be at this point, the North Koreans are going to have to make an initial concession before we even come to the table at this, after meeting unfruitfully twice. That's fine. Fool me twice. You don't get to fool us thrice, but they're going to have to make a serious, concession. I mean, just the fact that they were like, oh, we're going to close a couple of our nuclear sites in exchange for all the sanctions being lifted. I mean, it's just preposterous on its face. It's not, they were not serious to begin with. And now everybody gets to see that, for those that have not been immersed in that world of foreign diplomacy.
Goldfarb.
Yeah, I mean, the hardliners in the Trump administration, I think, were very pleased with this outcome. I know that because we were out drinking with the hardliners last night, and they said they were very pleased with the outcome. The warm beer comments about Otto, that was some embarrassing shit. I don't know why he felt compelled to say that. I think for Trump personally, I mean, he's become, has a relationship with the guy's parents. I just don't know quite what transpired there, but if that was like the downside of this summit, it's like pretty limited. It's just sort of embarrassing for Trump, I think, and kind of awkward for him personally, but for the country, it's fine. It was the best of the possible outcomes. Also, Trump was not here for the Cohen testimony, which was definitely a good outcome for everybody, because that would have been bananas if Trump was sitting there tweeting all day while Cohen was in front of the Congress. So, good outcome.
All right, up next. Of course, the North Korea summit was given short shrift because the Democrats had to schedule testimony from Michael Cohen, a weak person, on the same day. Trump's personal attorney revealed numerous times media reporting was wrong and that once and for all, he's never been to Prague. But perhaps the biggest bombshell from the hearing came when Cohen revealed Trump spoke to Roger Stone about a massive document dump from WikiLeaks, which they could only have known about if they weren't living under a rock in June 2016 when Julian Assange told everyone that WikiLeaks was going to publish more Hillary Clinton emails. Let's take a listen.
That he had just gotten off the phone with Julian Assange, and that Mr. Assange told Mr. Stone that within a couple of days there would be a massive dump.
About an upcoming, quoting your opening statement, quote, massive dump.
I cannot answer that in a yes or no. He had advanced notice that there was going to be a dump.
That he had just spoken with Julian Assange, who said there would be a, quote, massive dump.
It was a short conversation, and he said, Mr. Trump, I just want to let you know that I just got off the phone with Julian Assange, and in a couple of days, there's going to be a massive dump.
So Mr. Trump was aware of the upcoming dump before it actually happened?
Yes.
Harrison, riveting stuff.
It was a big explosive dump, and we all knew about it. And this whole testimony was a political act of masturbation in front of the entire Congress. The Democrats
about an explosive dump.
An explosive dump. The scatological Democrats are at it again.
That's what gets DC going.
It's clearly, it does. Well, look,
I feel like there's a name for that. It escapes me now.
Yeah. Well, everybody said that DC's been full of for several decades now,
right.
And now we just got to see it in person live for like 18 hours. What this shows, and honestly, we have some never Trumpers and we have some libs that listen to this podcast. Probably they hate listen to it, but they want to know what we have to think about this. But I want them to really focus in on what I'm about to say about Trump and his personal, shortcomings and his certain character flaws and his eccentricities. So just come closer to the mic or to the speaker. Turn it up a little bit, and I'm gonna let you in on a little secret. We know, we just don't care. Stop trying to make us care. We do not care. We know what we elected. We are not stupid people. You are stupid if you think that we didn't know this stuff. We embrace it. He's our guy. And look at the Supreme Court. Look what it got us. Look what this horrible character man, this horrible man of character, of poor character got us. It got us a conservative, enduring majority in the courts. It got us lower taxes. I'm sorry. I'm a Republican. These are things that I believe in.
Yeah,
what are you?
Weird.
He watched the Alex Jones podcast with Joe Rogan, so you can tell.
Electric.
You can tell he's fired up today. Here's the takeaway from the hearing. The Democrats can't impeach Trump. They know that. That's where they're walking away from this impeachment talk, despite ceding the floor to Cohen for hours. And they can't impeach him because they realize what they have on him is not enough to impeach. It does not constitute high crimes and misdemeanors. But what this was a sign that the Southern District of New York is laying the groundwork for an indictment of Trump. And when that indictment happens is anyone's guess. And this is the real issue for our democracy, because we're seeing in Israel right now what happens when you have a sitting head of government under indictment in the middle of a electoral campaign. And so I continue to believe that the Southern District is playing with fire with this investigation.
Goldfarb.
Yeah, I mean, my takeaway from the hearing, which I did not watch but sort of vaguely followed, was that Rashida Tlaib is a big problem for the Dems. She's nuts. She ends up having to apologize to Mark Meadows for calling him a racist in the middle of the hearing.
She wasn't calling him a racist.
She didn't call him a racist.
Just engaging in a racist
But I'm
act.
sorry I called you a racist.
While
but then
she's
I'm going to go out,
smiling. She's such a...
and then the next day goes and calls him a racist.
Yeah.
So, which I will use as a segue to go to my other favorite jihadist in Congress, Ilhan Omar, who again this week accused Jews of allegiances to a foreign power. And then this was in the course of describing, I'm sorry to take us off track here, but I can't help myself.
It's
this
important.
was in the course of making the point that her criticism of Israel is being stifled and silenced because of her religion, and that people are wielding the charge of anti-Semitism as a weapon to silence her. But by the way, you have an allegiance to a foreign power. So these two are a big problem in the midst of all the Cohen stuff. I mean, what was in the Cohen thing? There's like nothing of note.
No
They
collusion.
held up a check. They're going to launch 7 new investigations based on what he said. These guys, we have to do a list this week of all the investigations they've promised. There's got to be an investigation for every single Democrat member of Congress at this point that they're going to oversee for the next 2 years.
I want to see the investigation of Amy Klobuchar's staff treatment. I mean, that was literally what we saw on Thursday. It's the equivalent. The political equivalent of that was what the Cohen testimony was.
All right, up next, captain of the crew team and male nanny Rob O'Rourke has decided to not run for Senate and lose again in Texas and appears to be close to making an announcement for 2020. Meanwhile, spry 76-year-old Joe Biden has a campaign in waiting and has gotten the approval of his family. But wouldn't you know it, he's already stepping in it by calling Vice President Mike Pence, gasp, a decent guy. Biden was forced to apologize because, of course, there's nothing decent about being a Christian. Goldfarb, these two white guys are really going to shape up the race.
I mean, I think Beto missed his moment. It's early yet and blah, 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 but you can feel a couple of them, like that poll out of New Hampshire on Elizabeth Warren. That was devastating. I mean, she's lost 10 points in 6 months. And that's 10 points since the start of her problems on the DNA test and all that shenanigans.
That's 10 more points, percentage points than she ever has been Native American.
And Bernie has doubled his support. Bernie's like, he's going to be tough to beat, and Biden's going to be tough to beat. I don't know. I mean, I think it may come down to old white guys.
Matt.
It's good for America.
Yeah, I mean, that Bernie number in New Hampshire is very good for him. And, of course, he won it last time.
Yeah.
Right? And it was only Hillary if he had won in Iowa, he could have taken that nomination from Hillary. So then it's really who wins Iowa. And that's where the action is.
I don't know. For the Dems, South Carolina is, I mean, it was for us too, but for the Dems.
But Obama won Iowa before he won South Carolina.
I know, but there's no minorities in Iowa and New Hampshire, and the Democratic Party is the minority party.
When was the last time? Didn't in 12 in our race? Didn't the 3 early ones go 3 different ways? Who won Iowa? Because Rick Santorum won Iowa, right?
Right.
And then Romney or Newt won New Hampshire. You could have a situation like that where things are going kind of split decisions. But I think the first 2 contests are really all that matter, and that's going to show you who the
contenders
field is.
are.
Yeah, exactly.
Harrison.
There's only one Democrat who has proven that she can beat Bernie Sanders in a Democratic primary, and that name is Hillary Clinton.
I knew it.
Mike is exactly right. There is no clear-cut favorite right now, and this is a free-for-all of gigantic, gargantuan the level that this is on for just chaos on the left is unseen in American history. It's unprecedented. And the fact that the only way you can stick out in this type of a crowd is to say the craziest nonsense is only going to drag the rest of the field to the left. We saw it with Kamala Harris last week when she just is asked about the most recent radical policy, Medicare for all. And she's like, yeah, sure, of course. I have to be on that team. Otherwise I lose my base of support. Joe Biden's going to get in. And, my whole thing about Joe Biden is very similar to my whole thing about Michael Cohen. Joe Biden. Nobody cares. That's his biggest challenge. Nobody cares about Joe Biden. You ask every Democrat in the country, they almost give you a freaking shopping list of reasons why Joe Biden shouldn't be president via explaining the virtues of somebody else running.
All right, now it's time to check in with our sponsor, Calm. With stress and anxiety, many people can often feel exhausted during the day, but then it's time to go to bed and they just can't fall asleep. If worry is affecting your days and nights, it's probably also affecting your overall health. That's why we're partnering with Calm, the #1 app to help you reduce your anxiety and stress and help you sleep better. More than 40 million people around the world have downloaded it. If you head to calm.com/WFB, you'll get 25% off a Calm premium subscription, which includes guided meditations on issues like anxiety, stress, and focus, including a brand new meditation each day. There are also sleep stories, which are bedtime stories for adults designed to help you relax. Head to the magical lavender fields of southern France with Stephen Fry, or explore the moonlit jungles of Africa with Leona Lewis. They even have soothing music and much more. Right now, Free Beacon podcast listeners can get 25% off a Calm premium subscription at calm.com/WFB. That's CALM.com/WFB. Get unlimited access to all of Calm's content today at calm.com/WFB. Now it's time to check in with Write and Writer's generational ambassador, Paul Crookston. Hello, Paul.
Hello, Liz.
What's going on?
So, today is a new era for a very old enterprise. The side hustle is being transformed by the gig economy.
Wait a minute. Hold on. Are we talking about prostitution?
No, a very old. I didn't say the first.
Not the oldest.
The gig economy?
The gig economy.
I think that's what they've referred to it as in the past.
Yes, the oldest profession.
Side
this is neither
hustling.
a profession nor is it the oldest, but it is an enterprise and it is
It's
quite
neither.
old.
It's something.
It's something. Yeah, what is it?
So, the idea of the side hustle, right, is it's something that you do on the side. It's not your primary way of getting income, and it's not really your profession either. This can take a lot of different forms. In what we call the gig economy, it involves a lot of random tasks that are given to you from apps that you can sign up for. So think of Uber, but you have a lot of them that are just random tasks. Things like TaskRabbit. Have you ever heard of this?
Okay.
So
Yeah.
what are some of the tasks?
So, you have a whole range of them, but one that is highlighted in a recent Washingtonian piece is charging those electric scooters that you see around Washington. Someone has to actually go around and get them.
So millennials are doing that?
Yeah,
They're
and
paid
you
to do that.
Yeah, you get money per charge. And,
How much?
It can be like, depending on how much charging it needs, it can be like $10 to $20.
Well, it's a bounty system.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. So you have professionals like Nick Ryan who become what are called rangers in the industry, and they go around. In Nick's case, he actually has learned how to ride 2 scooters at the same time.
Whoa.
As he takes back as many as he
I
can.
see Goldfarb do that. Yeah.
And so to take Nick as an example, in the pages of the Washingtonian, we learn about his current gig. By day, the 30-year-old works in business-to-business sales for Dunn & Bradstreet. A good job with a comfortable salary. But at night, it's all cargo shorts and sneakers, wild goose chases, and the thrill of the hunt. Now, this guy makes 6 figures, but he's
Pretty much
still...
described my singlehood.
he still wants to do this, and this is an increasing trend among millennials. Wow. They're making a decent salary, but they like having something on the side that keeps them busy and gives them some pocket change
to
so
fill
that
the
they
void
can
of their otherwise empty, meaningless lives.
Well,
because they don't have they don't have partners.
Right.
They don't have spouses. They don't have
They
kids.
have a pet. They
So
have
what?
a pet dog.
What else are you going to do?
It's funny you mentioned pet dog. One of the most popular
I knew
ones, is dog sitting and dog
walking.
Mm-hmm. And so a lot of these people, there's an app called Rover.
Mm-hmm.
One woman made as much as $1,000 in a month just doing, walking dogs during lunch break, as much as she can. Dogs overnight, which is obviously more money. And it struck me that really, these are like a way of getting fulfillment and feeling productive more than they don't actually need that money.
Dogs overnight. What, they leave the dog with you overnight?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So like someone's going to be out of town and you keep the dog overnight and they pick it up the next day. And that's more. It's like $40.
And they pay you to do that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll do that.
So you don't have to
It's
board
better
it.
than having
I
a
know.
dog.
Right. And then you get to meet all
They
these
take
different kinds
and they take
figure
the
out
dog
what you
away.
want. Yeah.
I'm going to sign that up on that.
No, my sister Anna pioneered that.
There's got to be
one.
more money in dog sitting than babysitting now, right? Just supply and demand.
Supply and demand, precisely.
Nobody's having kids. It's sad.
So I could go into a lot of detail here about
You don't
all
need
of the
to.
different.
But you won't. You don't. You
Yeah.
won't.
I'll just list a few favorites that I got
Okay.
that I found during my research
Of other side hustles.
Yeah, they're a popular one is nude modeling. That actually goes pretty well. In home.
Back to the oldest
Do you have any
profession.
visual aids for Goldfarb? Or?
Well, this is an artistic.
I've
pursuit.
seen some of that side hustle on the internet. It's out there.
This is important stuff. This is a New York. Manhattan is the center of artistic community, and these are high class people in New York that are getting work done. In home tarot card reading, I thought that was excellent. And
They
of
go to your
course-
house and read your tarot cards?
well, they bring the tarot cards.
Their tarot
so
cards.
they're the expert here.
Okay.
But
Any others?
you have one thing I was impressed by is a lot of the.
How many pages of notes do you have?
Sorry, the notes didn't really get organized because Vic needed to talk to me right before screening, so I just printed a bunch of
Sabotage.
Vic.
Now, I think George Mason University economist Stephen Fuller kind of summed the situation up pretty well. He said, self-denial is not in these days. Long term, this is interesting. For millennials, long term is within the year, not within the lifetime. And short term means this weekend. So that's
fascinating.
I actually read this piece,
good
which
study.
is rare for me to read a piece that relates to the culture section. So I have some thoughts.
I didn't even read it. Yeah.
I will just say, I think these kids are getting a lot of I mean, I like that they're out there hustling. They are.
No,
they're out there.
it's good. It's
They're-
surprising.
They're working instead of sitting on the couch and playing video games. They're making extra money, and they go blow the extra money on booze and hanging out with their friends. That's what America's all about. That's like, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. I thought this was one of those rare times where I read one of these pieces of on millennials and actually
Well,
came
this
away
is-
thinking there's hope.
This is why we have Paul for
He's
the
the
outreach. We're
ambassador.
trying to understand.
Do you have
them.
a side hustle, Paul?
yeah. So I know you guys have been dying to ask
The nude modeling?
I don't have a side hustle in DC currently, unfortunately. But when I was living in the Big Apple, before signing with the Free Beacon and taking my talents to DC,
We really fought a hard battle to get you
Between
here,
us and
but-
Miami.
Yeah.
so back then, my friend and fellow millennial Chuck gave me an important lesson, and that was that everyone in New York has a side hustle, which explains why the place is so crazy. Our joint venture into the artisanal cupcake space didn't really pan out. But Chuck did leave me with an important lesson. And really, it was that he was an actual entrepreneur. So I see I see a cleavage here where you have.
Wait a minute, huh?
Harrison wants to get back to the cupcakes the cleavage. The cleavage got your attention.
A lot of millennials I know, they're in the tradition of entrepreneurship, and they have big ideas. Other things, what the gig economy does is it enables you to get the tasks sent directly to you. So for a lot of these people, it's a way of having stuff to do delivered straight to them, and they don't have to actually figure it out.
Right.
So you have this difference here, and I think what ends up happening is you have some millennials that are going to make the apps, and they're going to have shares in these companies, and they're going to end up with a bunch of money.
Yeah,
and
but
I think you're
in
going
the
to
meantime, there's crap work to be done, and they're doing it, and that's good. Mm-hmm. So,
yeah.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you.
Up first in our culture round, the cutest animal on Instagram is possibly in your trash can. The New York Times reports on the disturbing trend of millennials keeping rats, possums, and raccoons as pets and dressing them up in PJs so the vermin can become influencers. There's Starfish, the possum from Virginia, Rocket, the raccoon, and Gizmo, the 12-pound pet skunk. Quote, it's been really cool watching people turn around their opinion instead of just seeing them as creepy, hissing animals, said Allison Sanchez, who nursed a possum back to health and waited in line to see Starfish, who has 250,000 followers on social media. The Times says vermin historically considered pests are being remarketed. Raccoons become trash pandas. Possums become trash cats. The so-called vermin stewardship, also known as freaks who try to keep disease-ridden pests as pets, has led Danielle Stewart, who already has 2 horses, a dog, and a cat, to adopt a raccoon named Rocket. Like many Instagram influencers, Rocket has a knack for posing and a penchant for avocados. Stewart complains it's hard to find people to raccoon sit. Quote, does our newfound appreciation for the trash pet signify a sort of existential zeitgeist and newfound empathy for the misunderstood, a mirror of the millennial condition, the Times asks? Or maybe, Matt, there has always been and always will be freaks among us.
I read this piece before sending it to you, and I said a little prayer for plague.
Right.
Because that's the outcome
yeah.
here.
It's not good, Harrison.
Is there a side hustle for the pets?
Raccoon
the
sitting.
Vermin pets?
Yeah.
Look, I just don't like the flippant tone here that you guys are employing to people who have had opossums as pets. I myself raised 2 opossums and I brought them back from the brink of death.
Is that the correct? What kind of?
I thought it was a
pronunciation.
silent O,
It's
or-
a silent O. I
now-
finally said something right, and you did it wrong.
I am going to call them opossums for the rest of my life because it is most people
What were their
misspell them.
names? You actually raised 2?
Frick and Frack. And they were found on the side of the road. They were rescued. My mother at the time was a docent at the zoo.
Time?
During his foster care years.
She was a docent at the zoo at the time. Also my mother at the time, still my mother today. And she brought them home as pets. We raised them from their infancy, and we then
Ew.
released them to the world.
Well, at least
We probably fed them to, one of the local alligators or bobcats or mountain lions that were in the neighborhood of where we lived. But I want to tell you something. Opossums are great pets. They are docile, gentle, very friendly,
Ew.
and they're very
disgusting.
snuggly. No, these are
Go to
people who have
Starfish's
never,
account. It's gross.
I'm
it's got
sure-
the teeth and the.
I'm
ugh.
sure it's adorable, but look, I would say that if you are raising a raccoon, I would caution against it. Those things are rabid, they are wild, and they are aggressive. That is a recipe for
Ew.
disaster.
Yeah.
They have
They're mean.
sharp things all over them. They are like trying to snuggle a razor blade. It's awful.
Goldfarb.
The entire time of this conversation, I'm just wondering, what is the penalty in my neighborhood for firing a gun, in the backyard?
Right.
Because if I saw a raccoon once back there and he was sort of hobbling around, he had a busted leg, and I went out and I tried to scare him, and he wasn't scared.
Then you probably
he
was
tried to scare
rabid.
me back.
He'll fight you.
Yeah, no, and I thought about
Kill
getting
it,
the gun,
Goldfarb.
but I don't know. Do the cops show up at your house, and is that a big? Or are you allowed to? Are you
Probably
still
not in
allowed to
Virginia.
fire a gun on your property in America?
I don't
think
know.
that's
Coon Man would probably let you off the hook, right?
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Although maybe he's really sympathetic to.
Yeah, it was for his advocacy of raccoons.
All right, up next, Instagram model Bryce Harper has signed technically the largest contract in baseball history and is going to the Philadelphia Phillies for 13 years at $330 million. Pretty good payday for a guy who didn't even bat .250 last year. Harrison, what will you miss more, his mediocre defense or his hair flips?
Look, this one hit me pretty hard. As somebody who is
You don't want him.
Listen,
He stinks.
I want iconic players, okay? We don't have them anymore. The game of baseball, it is very rare that you have the player who is not only like predicted from the age of 16 to be the greatest player in the game, to go to one team and then stay there for his entire career, which, spans about 20 years. It's an important thing for a city. It's an important thing for a new fan base, which is what the DC baseball population is relatively. We've only been around since 2005. But Bryce was the guy who, when he made his debut in May of 2012, we became a winning team at that point. We won in 12. We won the division in 12. We won in 14. We won in 16. We won in 17. And we've been competitive ever since then. Missing Bryce Harper is a big thing. I do not fault him for taking the epic payday at $330 million for 13 years. That is a man who knows his worth and is going out there and taking it. Now, I do have a problem with him taking it within the division because the Phillies and all of their scumbag fans that live here in D.C. for some reason, they have all this loyalty to the city of Philadelphia, the city that they fled from, the city that they hate so much they can't even stand to live there themselves. But then when their teams start winning, then we have to hear about it all the time. So he's going to be in D.C. about a dozen times a year, and we got to see it. I'm not going to be there to boo Bryce Harper. I'm going to be there to just cheer on the Nats. I don't like the Phils. I boo the Phils. Let's go Nats. Let's bring home another division and let's shove it up his for the next 13 years.
All right, finally, a California man has enraged Twitter for offering 12 tips on how to be a beautiful woman. Alexander J.A. Cortez says women should be thin, be able to cook, have long hair, wear makeup, be feminine, be graceful, be sensual, shave, should go without saying, be fashionable, wear pink and feminine colors, love men, and listen to men. Cortez followed up his list with a very long selfie-filled thread showing off his long brown hair. Quote, horrifying that people with these sorts of beliefs actually exist outside of bad self-published fiction, one shrew responded on Twitter. But Cortez also warned men about red flags in women, including a woman who doesn't care about looking pretty, not being able to cook, being overly fat, not liking children, and worst of all, being a feminist. Goldfarb, where is he wrong?
That wasn't Ocasio-Cortez.
No, this is Alexander.
Oh.
J.A. Cortez.
But is J.A. Cortez think he's a woman?
No.
He's just spreading his opinion about women?
He's just,
Share his opinions. They're sound opinions.
Tips.
Yeah.
Look, I think
Beauty tips.
Look,
what's wrong with that?
The takeaway there is that he wants his woman to put effort
Does
into
he have,
their relationship.
Well, does he have a woman?
I don't know.
Who the hell is this guy?
Yeah, why are
Some
we
guy
talking?
on Twitter.
Well, he got shamed on Twitter.
Yeah,
for,
everyone was
saying
outraged
this.
because you can't talk about a woman's appearance anymore, obviously.
He got bullied. But that's all Twitter is. That's all TMZ is talking about women's appearances. Dropping that fat ass on the stage, making the earth shake. Y'all heard this song?
No, I didn't hear that song.
Yeah, it's Cardi B.
Okay. All right.
Well,
look, it's about effort. Everybody wants their partner.
I thought it was a worthwhile topic
man
to
or
discuss.
woman
Interesting.
to
Well,
put
he
effort into the
he
relationship.
shouldn't have been shamed. They shamed him.
Oh.
What kind of shaming
He was just
that?
speaking his truth.
They
That's
truth
right.
shamed him.
That's a great point. When you speak your truth, you get dragged on
I
Twitter.
mean, he's warning women, don't become a nasty little shrew feminist. No one will like you.
No, it's
That's
true.
a fact.
The only people who are not allowed to speak their truth are men and Jews. And I'm a double victim here.
You are the victim. You are the victim, Mike.
Victim culture.
The alpha male Jew is getting shamed on Twitter left and right. They chased you off Twitter. That's why you're not even on anymore.
Let's not go too far. The alpha male, please.
Unfortunately, that's all the time we have for today's edition of Right and Writer. I'd like to give a special thanks to our producer, LB Ford, of course, our Free Beacon guests, Matthew Continetti, Aaron Harrison, Michael Goldfarb, and Paul Crookston. Remember, find us on iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher. Just search for Free Beacon. Please subscribe, tell your friends, and leave a positive review like listener Anthony K., who says, Mr. Harrison, when you're dosing.
Never dozed.
Never
I don't
doze.
nap. Trump
You're
doesn't
no
nap.
calm. Dosing on vitamin J and owning the lips. Give some thought to Alexandria Ocasio-Chavez, Corey Spartacus, Booker, and Wokahanas.
I'm on it.
Until next time.